Hey, everybody. Always nice to be with you. Thanks for showing up. A lot of people these days say they're not feeling very safe. They're feeling vulnerable, unprotected. How do I get safe? So I'd like to talk to you, tell you about what it takes to not just feel safe, but to know down in your bones that you are safe. And always, I have a few stories to tell you that I think will support our theme. I had a buddy in college named Danny. And Danny was a perfect example of someone who is on the cusp of genius and insanity. He's a very sweet, kind, brilliant, metaphysical, meditative guy. But he would have these episodes where he'd go crazy. So one night I get a call from Danny. Hey, Alan, I'm locked up in Marlborough Mental Hospital. Can you come visit me? What are you doing there, Danny? Well, I had this episode and I went to the ER and they locked me up. Why, why do you think that happened? Well, when I filled out the intake form, they asked, "What is your occupation?" And I wrote mystic. I said, "Danny, you can't write that kind of stuff and stay out of the mental hospital." I know, but visit me anyway. Okay. So next day I go there and they usher me into this day room. It's like a big common area. And these very weird, scary looking guys are milling about. So Danny gives me a little tour and they lock the door behind me, which was not happy. He says, "You see that guy over there? Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's a serial murderer." Really? That guy? Many sex crimes. Oh, that guy beat up a bunch of policemen. Really? And meanwhile, I'm looking at the door and it's locked. I'm getting scared now. And at that moment, two of these rough, tough guys get into a fight with each other and they wrestle each other to the ground. Danny stands up and says, "Hey, you guys cut that out right now." And to my utter astonishment, these guys stop and they look at Danny and they get sheepish and they walk back to their respective corners, tails between their legs. I said, "Danny, why do these guys listen to you?" He said, "Well, the most amazing thing happened, Alan. The first day I was here, I wanted to do some yoga. I didn't have enough space in my room. So I took a towel and I spread it out in the middle of the day room and I did some yoga. And these guys now think I'm a martial arts master." So they do whatever I say. I thought, my God, this skinny meditating vegetarian is protected in the midst of this crazy place. And so that reminded me that when we have goodness and innocence in our heart, somehow there's a light around us. Some people may call it your angels around the job or your guides around the job. But there's a level of protection that we enjoy when we're connected to Source. I think I mentioned a few videos ago that my friend Joni, when she was 7 years old, her father was a PTSD survivor, so to speak, and he was a war veteran. And one night he pulled out a gun and lined his wife and five children against the wall. He said, "I'm going to shoot you all, then I'm going to kill myself." Of course, everyone went crazy except for Joni. Joni says, "Oh, no, you're not, Daddy." And she lunged to hug him. And feeling his little child's innocent love, this man dropped the gun. He began to weep and he fell to the floor. Family gathered around to comfort him. So once again, there was this innocence factor that cut through the nightmare and dissolved the insanity. One little girl's love perhaps saved all those lives. It would have been a terrible tragedy otherwise, but somehow innocence dissolved it. My teacher, Hilda Charlton, she went and lived in India for many years. She became a sadhu, dressed like a sadhu, a holy person, walked barefoot through the Himalayas, did prayers. One day she was coming into a town and there was a riot going on. And all these people who were fighting stopped. They said, Sadhu, Sadhu, and they pranamed to her and they let her pass. Because even a warring person recognizes spiritual purity. They had to yield to it. Same kind of story happened with Mother Teresa. So a wonderful video of her going into Beirut, Lebanon when there was a war. And she decided that she and her nuns were going to rescue a bunch of children from this children's hospital. So the video shows her and a bunch of her nuns and several Red Cross trucks entering the city, and the warring factions declared a ceasefire. And it was the most amazing thing to see these guys on both sides with their guns down, making way for Mother Teresa to do her holy work. And then she left the city with the children and they went back to shooting each other. So once again, holiness, spiritual purity transcends the world. And that's how real healing happens. And before we go on, I want to mention I have this program coming up called Metacinema. For many years, people have been saying, Alan, I love how you talk about so many movies and extract themes in your workshops and books. So can you please turn me on to your favorite movies and your favorite themes? So I'm going to do that. It's an 8-week live interactive webinar series starting May 6th. And it's really about movie as inspirational tools to change your life. The movies are not the object, the movies are the venue. So I'm going to be talking about what it takes to live a life of divinity in the midst of a crazy world. And so there are 8 webinars. There will be 16 feature-length films that we're going to watch, each on our own during the periods before the programs. 8 selected short subjects. There's a study guide about how to make the most of the films to apply to your own life. And we're also setting a private WhatsApp discussion support group. And some of the themes we'll be looking at are returning to self and source, which is pretty much what we're talking about today. Mastery through simplicity. How forgiveness is transformational to the receiver and the giver. Accessing the power to heal, where the real teacher lives. Rethinking reality. Help from above. And living a passionate life. So if these themes speak to you, you're really, really going to like this series. And we're going to let you try it for free. Come to the first webinar, get all the study materials. If you don't like the first webinar, you can drop out. That's fine, but we're pretty sure you're going to love it because I'm really excited about it. So it starts on May 6th. Go to my website, alancohen.com, and we'd love to get you in before the program starts. Now back to our theme for today. So I had a friend named Kathy, and she had been dating this guy named Tom. And they dated for quite a while, but Tom wasn't really showing up. So she made a vow out loud. She said, I refuse to see unavailable men anymore. A month or two later, she was in the mall with her young son, and her son starts tugging her to sleep. Mommy, mommy, why aren't you talking to Tom? What do you mean? Well, Tom's been standing here for a few minutes trying to get your attention. And she looks up, and there was Tom. So she literally did not see him. Her subconscious took her affirmation literally. I refuse to see unavailable men anymore. It wasn't just like she wasn't dating them, she wasn't even seeing them. And this demonstrates a very, very key metaphysical principle that when you're in a particular frequency, you have access only to everything that matches that frequency, and you have no access to that which does not match the frequency, and that has no access to you. So someone called this principle invisible to the enemy, invisible to everything that is unlike your deepest intentions. The law of attraction plays this out all the time. I had a buddy named Keith who was a metaphysical teacher. And one day he was sitting in McDonald's with a friend having a talk, metaphysical talk. And one of them said, well, you see that building across the alleyway there? Yeah. Well, that could blow up, and if we weren't a match to things blowing up, we wouldn't even know about it. Okay, good idea. A few minutes later, a group of police rush into the restaurant and they approach the booth where these guys were sitting and they start frisking them. What happened? Well, while they were having their metaphysical talk, two armed robbers came in and held up the restaurant and ran out. Everybody else ran out except these two guys, my buddy and his friend. And the idea is that they were oblivious to the robbery. The robbery was oblivious to them because they were in two different frequencies. Jesus said, in my Father's mansion, there are many rooms, which means that there are many different simultaneous realities happening. And you have access to everything that's in your reality, no access to everything that's not in your reality, and vice versa. So the key to all protection is to stay connected to source, stay connected to your original innocence, which is true of all of us if we're willing to receive it, and to really remember that love protects us. In fact, there are two beautiful Psalms, Psalms 23 and Psalm 91, and they're all about staying protected in a world that seems crazy, but you don't have to go crazy with the world. It doesn't have to touch you. So doing lots of stuff on the outside to protect yourself is not the same as doing lots of stuff on the inside. Once I visited a friend in Upper Manhattan, and as he closed the front door behind him, he locks the handle of the door, then he locks three deadbolts, and then he places this metal bar that goes in the floor that keeps somebody from prying the door open from the outside. I thought, my God, if this is how we're supposed to live, count me out. I could not believe that that's the kind of protection we're supposed to use every day. If you want to use it, fine. He felt comfortable using it, that's fine. But I couldn't live like that. And so let's take a minute or two before we close to really go into the deep place of protection inside of us. And if you really do this with me, you really get there. So close your eyes with me if you would. And I'm going to say some ideas and you kind of feel them with me if you would. I know that as I am connected to Source, I am protected. I'm a whole being. Nothing in the outside world can hurt me or touch me because I'm a divine being. I am made of light. I am made of love. I am made of wholeness. And therefore, everything that matches light, love, and wholeness can touch me. Everything that's not a match to it cannot touch me. And I take the beautiful image of a candle flame in the temple of my heart. And that flame cannot be touched or moved by the winds of outer change. This is a beautiful yogic image. That there's a place inside you that is so safe and so whole and so serene and so quiet that all kinds of things can go on around you, but the flame does not flicker with the outer wind. This place is given to you by God. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to access it. You just have to know it's there and drop into it. Cannot import it. It's already there. And so real protection is an inside-out job. Instead of behavioral modification, it's deep inner knowing. And as I know who I am, born of light, born of love, and only that which is of light and love can touch me. And then I become a force field as I go back into the world. My sense of safety invites other people into that sense of safety, and somehow we rise together. A rising tide raises all the ships. And so today I declare my safety as a virtue of God. I know that I am loved, I am whole, and only good can come to me. I'll close with a Hindu maxim. I won't attempt to repeat the Hindi, but the translation is, all evil vanishes for the one who keeps the sun, S-U-N, in his or her heart. Let me say that again. I'll close on the note. All evil vanishes as I keep the sun in my heart. And so it is. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful week, wonderful life. See you again soon.